Here we go. Well, we had a short day today with light trading, and as you might expect, there's often going to be some weirdness in that. Yeah. So let's sort out the weirdness, and here to help me get it straight is Larry Goldberg, the co-host of Good News.
Hi, Randy.
Larry, how you doing?
Great, and it's just a pleasure and an honor to be here with you.
Well, I appreciate it. I feel the same way. So let's start with probably the biggest Tesla news of the day is that V12 was released to the employees, and Elon says it's human-like. What say you?
Well, I hope it's human-like, good human, not bad human. Now, I'm so excited. I am so excited. So I temper my enthusiasm because it feels like we have to go through quite a few, training processes again.
Yes.
I'm sure there will be a little bit of backwardness, backsliding.
Right.
I think people's, expectations are a little too high right now. I would love them to temper it a little bit. I would prefer to be surprised than disappointed. But I'm very excited. I really value FSD very highly because, I wasn't a traveling man. I didn't go on road trips very often. In fact, I spent most of my life in the air.
Yes.
And today I spend most of my life in the car. So, of course, I don't travel as much on business. I don't travel at all on business anymore. But but even traveling on pleasure, the idea of getting on a plane today just to go to New York, it's crazy. To go to Florida, I live in the Research Triangle Park of North Carolina. For me, going up to the north or going down to the south, it's a done deal. And twice I've gone to the West Coast. So I'm not, and it's because of FSD.
Yeah. And that's at the current level. Not even
that's at the current level.
Yes.
Yeah, and for me, it's really a blessing. So I'm very interested, of course, from the perspective of FSD, to see us break through, this next level of capability. I've gone on record to say that I think it's a 1 to 3 year journey.
Gotcha.
3 years being the more likely, outcome.
Right.
But I mean, I'll reevaluate that once I've tried version 12. I'm very anxious to get it, very excited to get it. Lots of things about it. And, I've done a lot of work on AI in recent, over the last couple of years. And the more I do, the more I realize just the power of the product, of the concept of what it is able to do. And I'm very excited to see the merging of language models with the real world AI that the Tesla team have developed, because I think there's a lot to it.
I do too.
I think that the opportunity for even for driver instructions in difficult situations, is a real possibility. So yeah, pretty excited. I don't think there's a more important. Well, there's a Cybertruck.
There's a Cybertruck coming.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was to say, and I did a video earlier today, Larry, where I suggested that the co-star, maybe not the co-star, just a star of the show this coming Thursday is going to be Optimus, and that he'll be popping up everywhere on the production line. He'll be popping up in the tour. He'll be popping up maybe in the presentation of the Cybertruck. I'm hoping that that Optimus gets a good role.
I wouldn't set expectations too high. I think there's going to be a focus, but I mean, Optimus has been drug out on many occasions now, and it would be exciting to see the next level. Yeah. I mean, Optimus is so exciting because, you know why? Because nobody's paying it any attention.
And such a big deal.
You and I and our 400, 500 or 1,000 friends, I shouldn't say that, quite a few more, but I mean, it's a small coterie of people who really understand what's happening.
That's true.
For me, the less they say, the better. I mean, I think the opportunity there is just so great. Anyway, yeah.
So then Elon is going to head off to Israel. He's going to fly into the war zone. He's going to apparently wants to tour the front line. He's going to tour a couple of kibbutzes, I guess. I guess he wants to get more of a flavor, a feel, and he's going to visit with Bibi again. And so what do you think about that?
Well, touring a kibbutz is not really visiting Israel anymore. Israel is no longer a land of kibbutzim. It's a land of, of startups. And I mean, if you want to tour Israel, you tour the damn startups.
Right.
I could give them a few names to meet. And I will also say that Bibi is, a divisive figure in Israel.
Yes.
And so I hope that he visits with a lot more people. I hope he visits with a lot of Arab Israelis, because the Muslim Israelis are far friendlier to Israel than they are to the likes of Hamas.
Right.
There was a vote last week, not a vote, a poll last week, of Arabs in Jerusalem, and they were asked would they rather be under the PLO or an Arab government, or would they rather be in Israel? And 93% voted for Israel.
Yeah, well, that makes a ton of sense to me. I can certainly see how they come to that conclusion. Well, speaking of polls, let me share my screen real quick here, because we have a pretty interesting poll out today. And it always takes me so long to get this figured out, but I'll get it in a second here. It is coming any second now. Here we go. All right, so here's the poll. And what the poll showed, Larry, maybe you saw this on X today, basically is that Elon Musk is showing the dark blue is showing the very high favorables, and then the light blue is favorable, and then the gray is neutral, and then the unfavorables and the very unfavorables. And we see that, interestingly, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has got one of the best ratings in the country in terms of his favorables compared to his unfavorables. But Elon Musk isn't that far behind. His favorables are 47%, and his unfavorables are only at 35, giving him an 11% gap, and that's one of a positive 11% gap. And it's one of the best on the entire list, including Democrats, Republicans, really popular people, and people that you've hardly heard of. So this kind of flies in the face of this issue of Elon Musk being so divisive that he's hurting the sales of his companies.
Weird, eh? Amazing the brand value of the Kennedy name after all these years, eh? Isn't it amazing?
No kidding.
Yeah. And what surprises me is Kamala Harris, although her negatives are pretty high, eh?
Yeah.
And Joe Biden's negatives are, I wonder if that is because of his age, because, I thought he was kind of quite liked as an individual.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, as an individual, maybe, I'm not sure. There's obviously been a tremendous amount of negative publicity with regard to the whole, with his son and with all the, craft. And so that's going to hurt him. You got to remember, though, that, Republicans in general are going to say negative things. And, so you've got half the population that's going to be inclined to say negative things. Right. So
I'm pretty surprised that AOC is not on this. Oh, there she is.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's about midway.
Okay, but it's a net negative or not? Net negative 6.
Negative by quite a lot. Yeah,
-6 with Elon being.
I would have thought the negatives on Elon would be higher. I'm quite surprised, actually. I'm pleasantly surprised. I wonder how good this poll is. I'm very impressed with Nikki Haley's ratings. That's
Yes,
pretty
yes.
good, isn't it?
She is certainly. I've always been a fan of Nikki's.
Yeah,
I don't want to get it. I don't want to turn this into a political show, but I think she's a solid citizen. All
Look
right.
how flat Mitt Romney. I mean, very interesting. Thanks for showing that. Yeah, very interesting. I'm sure we'll get a lot of pushback by a lot of people on both sides of that.
It's possible. It's entirely possible. Let's see here. We have Cybertruck Day is getting close. Do you have any particular hopes and dreams and things that you'd love to see that day? Price points, anything, surprises? What are you looking for?
Yeah, Randy, I have a very long piece that I've written that I'm in the midst of writing, some research that I did on, what I'm very excited about, and that's the 48-volt system on the Cybertruck. And you heard it here first. I believe that that's the next big product that Tesla will license to auto manufacturers, because it just makes a whole lot of sense. The industry is so riven with all kinds of silly attempts at 48-volt systems, and 48-volt systems are a really, really big deal.
Wow.
And I go into the details of it. So I'd be very interested to hear a confirmation that the truck indeed has a 48-volt system. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the 48-volt system. I believe that the full maturity of the system is only coming, with the next gen.
Right.
And what I mean by the full maturity is no cross wiring, pure, node wiring. I go into that so that's what I'm interested in. It's a bit nerdy, but very interested. I mean, I just want to get my car. I just want to get my Cybertruck. I just want to get it. And I look at the numbers and I think, I'm going to only get it because I've ordered the 3-motor vehicle, and I just want it.
Yes, I get it. I understand. I think we're at 193,000 is our number, roughly 193 at some change. But so we got a ways to go to get ours, but we're definitely looking forward to it. So you've been a little more bearish than me on the economy. We've agreed on the money supply being a real potential downer. I think that interest rates, at this
the money supply is right up there. The money is the
volatility,
not the volatility, but the
I'm sorry, velocity. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's the area which looks to me like that all the good signs in the economy are not as real as they should be.
Okay, so we agree on velocity. We agree. I think money in general, the cash availability in the system, whether it's the bank levels, whether it's in the system in terms of moving around between wholesalers, manufacturers, distributors. I mean, everybody's got to have enough money to make the thing. You got to have the oil. Money is the oil in the system. I think I've said for a long time, I don't think that interest rates at this level are really that impactful to the overall economy, because we've lived through many, many periods where they're at this level. But now I've read a couple of things today which tie into some of my thinking. We have logistics employment down. So logistics companies, truckers, shipping companies, companies that service those companies, warehouse companies that have big warehouses that are part of the logistics system, employment down at those companies, and temporary work companies are having a very hard time. So they're not getting many placements right now. So those two things could be, I would say that the Fed is probably looking at those, and they could really be looking at some softness in the first or second quarter.
This Fed is going to whipsaw and going to start trying to pump the money, trying to, cut after cut after cut. As we saw them do this absolute switch.
Yeah.
From, oh, it's temporary, and so, oh my God, and then all these raises, and now they're going to realize, damn, it was temporary, and we've muffed it.
Yeah.
Now they're going to start cut. I mean, what I would give to have a Paul Volcker back in that seat. What I would give to have a decent Treasury Secretary. I mean, this woman is,
Yeah.
she's a disgrace to the profession. A disgrace.
Yeah, I hear you. So that news is out today. I mean, we got those two things, and then quite frankly, I put this in a different order, but I'm going to come down and grab it right now because it'll fit in better right here. Let's see, what did I do with it? Yes, from the PMI today. Total new, now this is the Purchasing Managers Index. So these are people that buy the goods for Costco or buy the goods for the wholesalers that supply Costco, et cetera. So these are purchasing managers, and they're saying that total new orders are returning to growth, thereby ending 3 months of contraction, but they saw demand conditions unchanged at manufacturers and slightly subdued at services. So slightly subdued at services. But here was the key thing. Relatively subdued demand conditions and dwindling backlogs led firms to cut their workforce numbers for the first time since June 2020 as service providers joined the goods producers in reducing headcounts. And then they went on to say cost pressures softened further with input prices rising at the slowest prices in over 3 years. Higher service sector output charges pushed up the rate of the total selling price inflation, with manufacturers seeing a slower increase in factory charges outgoing in November. So all of this would tend to say the same thing we were saying a minute ago, a lot of softness here. What do you say?
Well, it kind of confirms everything I've been saying. We have this kind of recession in these spots, and it's kind of like an ink blot, multiple ink blots joining together. It's not good. It's not good. I continue to be very pessimistic on the economy. I think that 2 raises ago, I thought we would halt. I could not believe the last raise. I think it was misguided.
Right. So in the meantime, though, Larry, with all that was all in the news today. Now, again, it's a slow day. A lot of traders are not trading, but the bond yield skyrocketed today, like 6 basis points. I was not expecting that at all. The market held up.
That could be market technicals. I mean, 6 basis points on a short day in public holiday could be pure technicals.
Yeah, I'm thinking that this is going to all wash out on Monday, but I thought it was just interesting to have that much news out today on stuff that I think the Fed is following that would suggest that the yield should have dropped, but they actually went a lot higher.
Yeah.
And then oil is staying put at 75. Even now, the OPEC meeting has been moved all the way to Thursday now, but it's staying put. So it sounds to me like the traders think that OPEC is not going to be able to get some of the smaller companies to go along with any more cuts.
I have a feeling in my gut that we're going to see a collapse of the oil price in the new year. I think there's just so much of it. I think there's only so many fingers that can be stuck into the holes in the dike. I really think we're going to see a collapse in the oil price.
Yeah, now at a certain point, that collapse in the oil price, at least recently, has resulted in even U.S. U.S. producers and Canadian producers cutting back on their production because some of it becomes not logical to pull out of the ground.
Well, you say that, but right now we're at a peak. We've never produced as much oil before, ever in our history. And it's been dramatic, the rise in oil production.
Yeah.
I mean, just, because of the oil price spike, a lot of people have started yanking the stuff out of the ground and started to pump the stuff and so on. But, look, China is in recession, out and out recession.
Yeah.
Russia is
not good.
Russia's in a terrible state, and I think we're about to hit the recession, and oil cannot do well under those circumstances. So I think the oil price is on its way down, but that could have a real impact on the market ultimately, if I'm right.
That's true. So then we've talked about this before, how much money that's been sitting on the sidelines. Bank of America says this morning that cash is the big winner, that there's just so much money in the short-term stuff, which we know. And it says a lot of money is flowing into both bonds and equity. Domestic money is more than making up for the outflow of foreign money in the bond market. And the outflow, in the foreign money that is not coming in, and equity markets are getting lots of new money. We're seeing some of that new cash going into the broader market. Do you think it's time for some of that rotation, Larry? Are we going to finally see some rotation? Now, some people, I've seen 2 headlines at least a day saying, yes, we're going to see more money going into the broader market, but that the Magnificent Seven are still going to get the bulk of it.
A really good question. I think that I think that as economic circumstances decline, as the economic environment slows, and we go into this rolling recession, evolves into broader recession, I think the market will decline for a period of time before it goes up. I mean, the market's up by a lot.
Yeah, well, it's almost at all-time highs.
Yeah. So I'm negative on the market in the medium term, short to medium term, the 6 to 12 month range. I don't think having a lot of money on the sidelines really counts for much, because the money has to be invested. The reason it's on the sidelines is people are not comfortable investing it yet. And I think that in the face of a declining economic activity, they're not going to change their minds all of a sudden, as long as interest rates are as high as they are. But if the interest rates collapse, if we see a turn towards the end of next year, we could see another bull market. I mean, I'm not on the sidelines, but my general approach is to invest about 5% to 10%, 10% at the top of my money in equities. My investment in Tesla really skewed that very badly.
Right.
I had to take it out of the calculation and kind of separate it, because I don't believe in selling stocks that have gone up. I mean, that's not my. It took me, 17 years to sell my Amazon stock.
Yeah.
So more, 20 years, 23 years. So this is a very complicated world we're in right now.
Of course.
And I'm not optimistic in the really short term, means 6 to 9 months.
No.
You're wrong.
So we could see a shift in the sentiment among the economists that are polled with regard to the Fed's future decisions. We've already seen it move to roughly April, May as the first 25% cut. We might see where that starts to move into March, And if it gets to be a majority that think the Fed cut is going to come in March, I think that could start to stimulate the actual equities market ahead of time, because the equities market is always trying to figure it out 6 months before it happens. So
Yeah.
that could be an interesting interplay to watch over the next several months.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd watch sentiment very closely, but I'd also watch the velocity of money very closely.
Exactly. Yes, as we know, Larry. No, I'm kidding. I agree with you. That's one that we're 100% in agreement on. Yeah. All right. So Tesla was up today against the market, but I thought that might have just been a rebound from Wednesday. And again, on a short trading day, so who knows? And it did lose a lot of it toward the end. But
most of the sentiment on Tesla, no, not most, sentiment on Tesla are driven by these negative headlines that, these guys generate, these first people generate.
Yes.
And so, there is this up and down, up and down, up and down, but none of that's really based upon, any real news.
No.
So I take these movements with a grain of salt. Excuse me. I think, everybody expects the Cybertruck event to really propel the stock. Don't think it's going to in this circumstance. I think it's going to be muted somewhat. And I think we're going to go through the usual, dip in the between the time of the announcement of the deliveries to the time of the announcement, to the time of the release of the results. Well, that's normally about the 20th of the month, right? So I'm seeing a gradual rise in the price. I'm going to see quite a big dip around the delivers announcement, and then slowly rise again to dip at the
after the earnings call.
The year, yeah. And then after that, I think next year is going to be a great year for the stock. Great year for the stock, and maybe the beginning of the secular rise. I'm waiting for this, long-term secular rise of the stock, and it's going to be on the, FSD, next gen, energy, Optimus. There are everything else pales into insignificance. Right. Those four things are, really what counts.
Yeah. So my version of that would be that we see some FOMO as usual going into Thursday, but it's going to depend, I think, a lot this time on the presentation. If I was running that marketing department, the presentation would be the beginning of a daily deluge of additional content hitting. I would
you're thinking about the stock price.
No, I'm thinking about the market.
The market price is the marketer is thinking about moving vehicles.
Yeah, no.
Let's separate the two, Randy.
Well, no, because I see the halo. Again, I know we don't need to move more Cybertrucks right now, but the Cybertruck is going to create people going to the website. It's going to create people going into the showrooms to see the Cybertruck in person. And while they're there, they're going to be looking at a Model Y or a Model 3 because they're 3 years away from getting a Cybertruck. So if I was doing it, I would, and I think they've got 2 or 3 of these influencers again, like they did with the Model 3 Plus. I think they've got 2 or 3 of these YouTube influencers that are going to be hitting maybe as early as Thursday, maybe as early as Friday over the weekend, and getting millions and millions and millions of views of these influencers going through the truck and driving the truck and doing all that kind of stuff. So
possible.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Larry, your job here is to keep me serious or close to, because it's almost impossible. So many have tried before you to actually get me down to serious, but you do as good a job as anybody. We'll see what happens next week in the market. We'll have you back on Monday as the co-host again on Good News Monday. And Larry, if you want to do that nerdy thing on my channel over the weekend or whenever you get done with it, we of course would want to put that presentation up anytime you're ready.
Yeah, I really like to time it with the Cybertruck launch. So
Yes. Okay. Good thinking. Yeah. All right, Larry. Hey, great talking to you. Thanks for being on board.
have a great weekend, Randy.
And to all of you out there, great talking to you as well.